kung fu.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is D-Shine, and today I have another action classic for you in the form of 2011's Fast 5. This movie is a movie I hold to high regard. The Fast and Furious franchise is, for better or worse, one of the most iconic action franchises of all time. It's probably one of the biggest franchises in terms of money making in the past couple decades. I mean, it's pretty much like the MCU. What other movie? Maybe Pixar? Star Wars? But like, Fast and Furious has to be top 5 in terms of money-making franchises. This is a franchise that, for a while there, was just making billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie. And it really started with Fast 5. Now, Fast 5 is kind of an interesting movie because in many ways it's a legacy movie. As some of you know, Fast and Furious, the original Fast and Furious, came out long ago in like 2001, I believe. It was either 2000 or 2001. It was a young Paul Walker and a young Vin Diesel. And a lot of people forget about that movie. What a lot of people forget about the franchise is technically Paul Walker is the lead of that movie. He's the lead of the franchise. But we all know that the original Fast and the Furious was just straight up a Point Break ripoff. We all kind of like, it's been said a billion times, but it really was. It was a riff on Point Break, which is another action classic that will probably be on here eventually. But instead of Keanu Reeves and, Patrick Swayze, we got Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. And, it's the same story. There were little tweaks here. But at the time, early 2000s, like racing, like street racing was really big. We had a lot of games like Midnight Club and Need for Speed. And there was just a lot of like buzz around street racing at that point in time. So taking a known thing that had worked with Point Break, that kind of format, and then adding street racing to it was something new at the time. It very much popped the minds and consciousness of people. It definitely did me at the time. Looking back, the movie actually isn't particularly that great of a movie, which is why I've never wouldn't put it on an action classic or anything like that. Plus, there's not like a ton of action in it anyways. But that movie sparked this franchise, and Vin Diesel would go away from the franchise after this first one. Dominic Toretto walks off. His sister's like in Witness. His sister, I think his sister goes to jail. I can't remember the end of the first one, but Dom goes off. It's Point Break if Keanu let Swayze go at the end. But I digress. And Paul Walker would come back and be in the sequel, Too Fast, Too Furious with Tyrese. And then they would go off-road and do a prequel. Now, I don't think we knew it was a prequel at the time, but then they would come out and have Tokyo Drift, which Tokyo Drift as a movie, not very good. But I feel like visually, it's still a stunning looking movie. That movie still looks cool. The drifting is still cool. The racing is still cool. Although the actual story and the acting and the characters are pretty bad. They're pretty bad. It's not a great movie, but Tokyo Drift looks awesome, has an awesome soundtrack, a couple songs from there that I've seen again in movies later, and I'm like, oh, that's where that came from. But yeah, Tokyo Drift would come out, and it was a cool movie, but it's not actually a good movie. And the franchise was sputtering. So then they brought back Vin Diesel and Paul Walker again in Fast and the Furious, and they were both co-starring in that. At this point, Vin Diesel's star has risen. It's been in a lot of big movies. But bringing Vin Diesel back for Fast and the Furious, which I actually like Fast and the Furious. I think it was pretty good. I remember seeing the trailer for that movie before it came out, and at the end of that movie, setting up Fast 5, long story short, Dom goes into this death race to find the people who killed Letty, because Letty dies while Dom was on the run. Letty dies. He comes here to get revenge, but while he's coming there to get revenge, Paul Walker, Brian is also there to investigate it because he has expertise in this. And that's when they start twisting down the line of maybe Brian feeling regret over what he did to Vin Diesel, and maybe probably feeling like, you know what, dude, was it worth it in the end? Was it like I'm sitting in this cubicle, I don't like my life, you know what? And then at the end of that movie, Paul Walker and Vin Diesel take down, Brian and Dominic take down that, whatever that gangster cartel drug race lord was. But Vin Diesel gets convicted and go to jail. But at the end of the movie, Paul Walker, along with the help of Dominic's sister, breaks Dominic out of prison. They flip the bus. Cool fucking stunt. They flip the bus, they save them, and they set up this movie with them on the run. But unfortunately, Time on the Run has not been kind to Brian, has not been kind to Paul Walker's character. The sister is now pregnant, and they really need one big score. And would you know it? They're out here in Rio, Brazil, and this big kingpin, this guy who runs Brazil, fucks them over on a deal at the beginning of the movie. And now, in order to both set themselves up to disappear because they're tired of being wanted men, they're gonna rob this motherfucker, and they're gonna $100 million on this motherfucker and take off into the sunset. And what you get, in my personal opinion, is the best of the Fast and Furious franchise. I personally think Fast 5 is the best movie. Now, some people will debate Fast 7, and I understand that, but let's be a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100. Me and you, we always keep it 100 with each other. A large portion of the goodwill for Fast 7 is because of the passing of Paul Walker. Even at the time, I remember it, even at the time, I remember thinking to myself, this is because when it made that amount of money, because I remember leaving the theater and being like, I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was decent, but it's kind of stupid. Because Fast 7 is when it got stupid. Fast 7 is when they started getting insane. And I remember leaving the theater being like, bro, if Paul Walker didn't pass, I think this movie would have got much more heavier criticisms than it did. Fast 5 to me is everything the Fast and Furious franchise could be. Because what kind of gets lost in the sauce is Dominic Toretto's a criminal. His family are criminals. Like, the reason that Brian was tasked with infiltrating his little gang isn't because of the street racing. It's because he was robbing motherfuckers. It's because they were using their street racing expertise to rob fucking trucks and shit. So they needed to figure out how to fucking catch these guys, so they sent someone in to infiltrate them. He's a thief. He's a criminal. And it feels like this is the last movie. Fast 5 is the last movie. They were truly criminals. They were truly criminals. It's also the last movie where almost everything done in it is plausible. All the stunts, everything. Like, I think the Mission Impossible franchise, long ago, have figured out a way, outside of the last one, in my personal opinion, have threaded the needle between doing ridiculous but plausible. Doing these insanely huge stunts and these action sequences, but they're done so well and they're done in a way where you're like, as crazy as it is, I could see it done. Fast 5 has nothing but stunts like that. From the opening chase, from the opening action sequence on the train, to just the awesome finale action sequence with them fucking dragging around a whole fucking bank vault. This movie is part Ocean's 11, part Mission Impossible in the way that they execute their stuff. Also, it is probably the best Dominic Toretto has been. It's definitely one of the best Rock roles. Like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came into this movie and just gave it an energy. He gave it a zip to it. Like, it was very awesome. Him and Vin Diesel played off each other so well. And I remember watching this movie with my mom a long time ago when it came out. And me and her both anticipating this fight between The Rock and Vin Diesel. And me and her being like, this is about to be a hoss fight. And it was. It ain't nothing but hooks and just trying to destroy each other. I mean, it was an epic fight. It lived up to the expectations of the fight. Like, there's so many moments like that in this movie that they're just pretty fucking good. Also, it brought back so many characters. A couple characters from the last movie, The Fast and Furious, but also Ludacris and Tyrese from Too Fast and Too Furious. The movie was like a love letter to the past, while also being this interesting representation of like what they could do with the franchise going forward. It's the movie where Vin Diesel really took the lead of the franchise. He really put his hands on the steering wheel of the franchise, because even Fast and Furious, Paul Walker is still the lead of that. Like I say, it's easy to forget now, but Paul Walker was the actual lead of the franchise, which, if you want to be technical, perhaps you could say without him, the franchise hasn't been the same, which it hasn't been because of his presence, but it hasn't been from a narrative standpoint for what he represented. Now, in 6 and 7, it was a bit weird. Like, he did take a step back. Like, you could tell Vin Diesel was more of the guy. That's when they started doing buck wild, insane shit. Also, the dynamic between Ludacris and Tyrese was born in this. Like, everybody is at their best. It's also the big breakout performance of Gal Gadot. Like, this movie probably gets her the Wonder Woman role, if we're being completely honest, because she was smoking hot in this movie, and she was so captivating and dangerous. Like, yeah, Fast 5 to me is the best of the Fast and the Furious franchise. It's the movie that really shows what the franchise probably should have been. It probably should have been this. Them doing daring heist and doing crazy daring heist, but keeping it relatively grounded enough that it's plausible. But once they started becoming superhuman and doing all this crazy shit, the franchise went down the gutter. This is what the franchise should have been the entire time. But anyways, I would give Fast 5 a 9 out of 10. I love Fast 5. I think it's it is the best movie in the franchise. It's part heist movie, part spectacle. It's the only time that the word family was used appropriately. Also, them bringing Lenny back to the dead. Like, after this movie, everything else is weird. Everything else, I'm just like, I question all of this. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Kind of Great Movie Show. Please be like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.